quick introduction here. I am in my Southeast Asian home where I have been for the past year. You will not see this video inside of what you would consider a typical dojo, but as we know as martial artists, the world is our dojo. So no matter where you are, you should be able to practice physically and mentally. First, you're going to need something like a plus sign that you'll need on the floor, which will help. You'll need an X to go over top of the plus. And the reason why we need these lines is because everything in martial arts is linear or circular. Okay, this is all about body mechanics and movement. This is considered an attention stance. Most traditional martial arts, before they start class, your legs will be close to each other, all 10 toes in alignment. Your hands will be flat, they'll be at your side, and your back will be erect and straight. So your head, there should be like a pole going straight up here, and you should have your back straight, your head, your chin up, forward, not pointed down, but forward, not pointed up this way, and your hands to each side. This is called an attention stance. This is what it should look like from the reverse, and this is what it looks like from each side and from the forward. That is typically how most martial arts schools start. The bows that we start, so you bow typically in a traditional martial arts, that is bowing respect, okay? Some schools you'll bow before you even walk into the school. You bow at the door. Why do you bow at the door? Because you're bowing the outside world away, and you're bowing yourself into the school, into training. In other words, when you come to that door, and this is what I was taught in Taekwondo by Grandmaster Beaumont, when you come to that door and you bow at the door, you are bowing away anything that happened that day or anything that doesn't pertain to what you're going to be learning today in the school. In other words, if you had a bad day at work, a bad day at school, a bad day with your relationship, you're bowing that stuff away. This is your time when you bow into the school. This is your time to escape all of that. Think of this as like logging out of a computer, right? The computer is out there. When you come in here, you're logging out. You're shutting it down, okay? So you're turning that off. You're turning off the favorite TV show. You're turning off your cell phone. You're turning off everything. All that stuff's out there. All those distractions are out there. When you come in here, your mind should be completely open to what you're learning here and nothing else. You should nothing in here, nothing out there interfere with what you're doing in here. And that was taught to me by Master Beaumont. That helped a lot because every time I would come in and I would bow into the dojang, that's how you say it in Korean, I always remember that whatever happened today doesn't matter because I'm now in the school to train. So it's almost like a piece of meditation when you train for that hour or however long you're training. You know, some people train 45 minutes, some people an hour. For me, it would be about 4 hours a day going to the Taekwondo school and then at the Kempo Karate school as well. So I stayed for multiple classes. Okay, so when you would bow, a normal bow is like this. This is traditional bow in almost all martial arts is slightly bend like this. Almost everybody knows this bow. I shouldn't have to really explain it. Your hands are each side and you're going to bow like this. Do not look down. Look forward. Slightly bow. Do not bow all the way low like this. It's just a slight arc, like just slightly, just a slight bow like this and up. So that is the traditional bow. Also, before you start class, most classes, most traditional martial arts, you have to be bowed in before you start. There's no kicking, no punching, no katas, no weapons. Nothing happens, nothing at all happens until you bow in. In fact, when you come into the class, traditional martial arts schools like the Taekwondo school I attended and the Kempo Karate school that I went to, and other schools. I trained in Wing Chun, Isshin-Ryu, Shotokan. They all, when you come in, all those schools all had the same, and it's different arts from different parts of the world. Also, I trained in Kung Fu. I can't forget that. So I did train in Kung Fu. And Wing Chun, the Wing Chun one was not as traditional, but all the other schools were very traditional. But as soon as you come into the school, the first thing you do after you put all your stuff down, after you put your things in your locker or wherever they need to go, you bow in, and then you would get to what's called your spot. And then when you get to your spot, which you should know where you're supposed to go, in other words, there will be an alignment of students there. Once you get to your spot, you would just stand there at attention stance, and you'll wait. And you will wait until it's time to start, until the instructor comes in front of you and bows everybody in. And usually you get here, people are usually quiet, being respectful, they're making sure their uniform is correct. In Korean, this is called a dobok. In Japanese, it's called a gi. Most people just refer to it as a gi because that's what most people know because of karate and not taekwondo. And you'll just stand there like this. Now, sometimes people will stand, they'll talk and they'll chit-chat a little bit before class starts, but this is how they'll typically just stand there, and they'll relax and they'll wait till the instructor comes and tells them to get started. This is a sign of respect, but it also shows an instructor that you're serious about training. And there's nothing more important than showing the instructor that you are serious about training. If you just come in with just kind of a nonchalant attitude, like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do martial arts, this and that, then the instructor isn't going to, he or she most likely will not take you serious. And the last thing you want is an instructor not to take you serious, because they may hold back on giving you the best part of the instructions and teaching you to become the best that you can become at the best of your abilities that you're going to learn with the techniques that they're going to teach you, right? So it's very important to show an instructor that you're enthusiastic, that you care about what you're learning, and you're showing that it's very important to you, and that you're serious, and that you give them respect, as well as respecting the other students and respecting the school. Respecting the school can mean a lot of different things. One, not bad talking to school, not doing things inappropriate in the school, coming in, if you see something that needs to be picked up, you just pick it up. Something at the end of the night, at the end of the class, most schools have the students clean, some don't. And even if they don't want you to clean, offer to clean. It's your school too, because you're making an investment with not just your money, but your time, your energy, and your mentality. It becomes part of that school. All the schools, well, mostly the Kempo school and Taekwondo school, they were a part of me. They will always be a part of me, those schools. The Master Beaumont Junior Taekwondo School will always be a part of who I am. The Wulan Kempo Karate School under Mr. Phillips will always be a part of who I am. Those schools are a part of me to this day. In fact, I'm a very clean person, and when I would clean every day, I made sure that the schools were clean. Let's get started on the bows. The typical first bow, like I said, bowing this way. Then there's this is the Taekwondo way. You put your hand over your heart like this, and then you'll shoot it out to the side here, bring it here, and then you'll bow. Okay. So what the Master Beaumont would say is he would say chariot. That means in a tense stance. Kuke, which means wherever the flag is, like the Korean flag was over there, we always had to bow to the Korean flag. I don't agree with that. I never taught my students that. So we would turn towards the flag, and then he'd say, Kunyet, and you'd bow like that. Okay. I don't make my students in my school in the Scorpion System of Martial Arts bow to any flag. They don't bow to well, first of all, I had 4 flags up. I had the Chinese flag, the Korean flag, the Japanese flag, and the American flag up. So I had all 4 flags. The American flag was slightly higher than the other 3 flags because that was in America, and that's traditional. That's the way you do it in America. I don't believe that it meant that country is better than any other country. It's just that you show respect to the country that you're in, and so that flag would fly higher. I never made my students bow to any of the flags, but I wanted them to recognize that these are the countries that these systems come from. It's very important to understand the traditions and the roots of where the system is that you're learning, Also, who taught that system to the instructor that you're learning from, and I'll have that in a separate video. In Kempo Karate, we have two different bows. We have the traditional beginner's bow, which is you step out to a horse stance. You'll step out with your left leg. You'll step out to a horse stance, like I said. You want your foot to line up with your shoulder, both feet to line up with your shoulder, all 10 toes forward. Don't let your heels be in. Don't let your heels be out. Heels need to be exactly straight so that your heels line up with your toes, that your feet are facing forward. You're going to take your left hand. You're going to make what's called a knife hand, like this. So you're going to make it flat. You're going to take your right hand. You're going to make a fist. To make a fist, take a flat hand, roll your fingers down, take your thumb and lock your thumb over top of your knuckles here, these lower knuckles. And now you're going to bring them together. Your flat hand will be on top of your fist. This is called the shield and weapon. Okay, and you're going to bring those together. And you may see some people do it like this, where they have the flat of the palm lining up onto the knuckles this way. And you'll see some people where they have this arc going over top, this 45-degree angle. In the school that I come from, the Kempo school I come from, we did it at this angle, so that's the way I teach it, the angle like this. So let me show you how that starts again. You're going to step out to your horse stance. You're going to make a fist and a flat knife hand. You're going to bring them together, okay, just like that. And then when you step back, you're going to bring your arms up, both into flat hands. They're going to come all the way out to the side, and they're going to come down and smack your sides here, so that you make a sound like that. Now let me show you one more time. You're going to step out, flat hand, fist, bring them together, come out wide here. Now this is a good time to know where to line up. And speaking of lining up, when you do line up in class, traditionally what happens is the higher rank will line up to the right. So whoever's the highest rank, it depends on the school. Some line up on the right, some line up on the left. Because I've been to schools where it's been different, where the highest rank would line up over here to the left. And I've been to schools where some of the highest ranks will line up here to the right. In my school, the highest rank lines up to the left. So whoever the highest rank is, they would be all the way over here, and then it would trickle down to each rank further down. Okay, so in my school, the left would be the highest rank. They would be over there. So when you line up, you may, if you're the highest rank that showed up that day, come over here, and you'll be here, and everybody else is getting lined up, especially in a big school. And I've been in big school. Master Beaumont School had over 300 students, and in the Kempo school, we didn't have that many students. We maybe had 12 at the most. Typically, a class was like 4 to 8 people. In the Taekwondo school, typically a class is about 30 to 50 people per class. And that was like a normal day. Sometimes it'd be packed even more than that. When you could line in, like in a big school, you could be the highest rank and you could be lined up over here. You could be the, maybe the brown belt, who's the highest brown ranking, or a red belt, which is higher than brown in Taekwondo, in the school I come from. And you could be over here because there's no red blacks that showed up, and you're looking around, you're like, okay, you're here. And then right before everybody bows in, here comes a red black belt, comes running in, and they hustle over there. And then they get over, and then now you got to move over, and guess what? The whole line of all 50 people all got to now move and adjust and adjust. And then whoever was the lowest ranking here will step back, and they'll run all the way down here, and then everybody else, and it just keeps going like this. Actually pretty comedic, but adjustments need to be made when you're lining up and showing respect to the ranks of the students ahead of you. So that was the traditional Kempo bow for the beginners, the advanced bow, and there's a difference. There's a reason why you have beginners and advanced. The beginners is usually typically white belt to blue belt, and at least in the school that I come from, the Kempo school I come from, and other split Kempo schools I've been to. But it's also the same thing it was in Taekwondo. It was like white to about blue was beginners, and then in Taekwondo we had what was the intermediate. Those were the purple belts to the brown belt, and then after brown belt in Taekwondo was the advanced, which was red belt going into their black belt. So you had red, red, black, and then you had to do 3 stripes for each one of those red, black belts. You had to do 3 stripes on each 3 stripes. So you'd advance forward. I'll explain that later in a different video. And then from there, then you'd be getting ready to take your black belt. So there was immediate, beginners, intermediate, and advanced. Now in the Kempo school, there was only beginners and advanced. There was no intermediate. And that was the way traditional belt systems worked in Kempo anyhow, because Kempo traditionally was white belt, brown belt, black belt. That's it. Beginner, white belt, brown belt, advanced, and then black belt, expert. Okay. So in Taekwondo, there was typically 8 level belts that you had to get through, not 3. So, go all the way up. So they had the intermediate in the middle there. So for the beginners in Kempo, from white to blue belt, and what is now traditional instead of the white, brown, black, it used to be white belts would bow like this. Okay, this is the white belt bow. And then the brown belts, because they were the advanced students, they would bow differently. It would be your fist and your flat are still the same, but instead of starting in a horse stance, you're starting into an attention stance here. You take your foot, you step sideways here, which is going to be right in front of your toes, and your foot should be facing that way, sideways here. And now your body is going to turn. You're going to take your flat hand and you're going to match it to the back of your fist. In other words, this way, like this. So you're making that hand smack the back of your fist. So now you're meeting weapon and shield again. Now as a beginner, you're meeting weapon and shield this way, and in advanced, you're meeting weapon and shield smacking this way. In other words, now the shield is concealing the weapon. So it's hiding the weapon. So the weapon is considered hidden. This is all symbolic here. Whereas here, as in beginners, you're presenting your weapon and you're presenting your shield so that your opponent can clearly see that you are a warrior with shield and weapon. As in advanced, you're hiding your weapon with the shield in front. You're just saying that I'm here to defend myself, but they don't realize that you have the weapon concealed to attack. Okay? So that's what the symbology of that means. So you're going to take your weapon and your shield. You're going to step sideways here. This also gives me a hidden foot. Okay, now I'm going into an advanced stance. Right, I have this foot going this way, which looks like I might be going that way instead of going forward. But I'm going to continue to keep my sight looking forward and not to the side. My weapon and shield are going to meet here. I'm going to now step this foot. What you want to do is step your other foot forward, which is called a cat stance. And a cat stance, this foot, my right foot, I'm going to let it face to 3 o'clock. Okay? It's going to go to 3 o'clock. My other foot, my left foot, is going to go to 12 o'clock into the cat stance. But for sake of showing you this from the side, I need to turn this way, and we're going to imagine that 12 o'clock is that way instead of 12 o'clock being forward towards the camera. So I'm taking the foot, I'm stepping towards 3, and I'm taking the left foot and stepping into a cat stance. A cat stance is where your foot, now I'll show in a diagram, where you can see that the foot is, you're standing on the ball of your foot, and your knee is pointed that way towards 12 o'clock. So once again, here, weapon and shield. I'm going to step. Also, you want to make a sound. See how you have that sound there? So to make a sound, letting that smack there, facing forward. Now you go into your cat stance. And now you're going to take your hands, you're going to rotate them forward at the same time as you're going to rotate the foot that's here, your right foot that's facing this way. It's going to turn towards where your X is, this 45-degree angle right here. And this is the reason why these lines are important. We have that 45-degree angle, the X here. And the right foot is going to face this way. Your left foot is going to face forward. So we're going to have this shape here. This is the shape that we're going to have for your feet. So once again, this is more advanced bow. So we're going here. We're going to go here, and then we're going to let that go towards, like I said, go that way here. And we're going to rotate those hands. And now, just below your chin, you're going to let your hands face forward. Now I'm presenting to the opponent or to the instructor, whoever, that I am, or to the audience, that I have a weapon that was concealed behind the shield. Remember, I hid the shield, I hid the weapon here, and now I rotate it out and I show it to you. So when I go here, I'm hiding my weapon, and then boom, now I'm showing you my weapon. So now my shield is behind my weapon. This means very serious business here. Okay, so now we're here. And then we're going to roll those back. We're going to take one step back. We're going to roll your hands back this way. Now your weapon is hidden behind your shield again. See how sneaky that is? There's a lot going on here. So now the shield, remember, you present the weapon, you hide the weapon. So let's start over, and that's not it. We're not done with this advanced stance. So weapon and shield, step, here to cat stance, roll your weapon and shield out, step back, roll them back, 1, 2, back into your attention stance. Now you're going to step out into a horse stance. Your hands are going to come all the way out like this. And you're going to go into the triangle. There's also an advanced stance in Taekwondo before you do choreo. You're going to go into the triangle here, like this. Now you're going to, and the triangle has all different types of symbology and meaning. And this goes all the way back to ancient times. And since the fighting arts go back to ancient times, that's what this symbolizes. And you do it above your head, and this is also done in Taekwondo. Weapon and shield, prayer position comes down, and then bow out. So weapon and shield, step, bring those together at the same time. So as soon as you step here, boom, boom. Those ones are going to go there together. You're going to roll back here, come back to your attention stance here, step out to your triangle, go into weapon and shield once more, prayer position or meditation here, bring your arms out and smack. Now that's the advanced Kempo bow. There actually is an advanced Taekwondo bow. So in Taekwondo, before we start the last kat, or the last pumse, and Kempo it's considered, or karate, it's considered katas, the forms, and in Taekwondo they're called pumse, but they're both forms, series of movements showing different self-defense moves. Okay, so, or demonstrating different striking, kicking, punching. So to do the advanced Taekwondo bow, which starts before you do choreo, you step out here, your hands come up like this. So you're going to have fingertip to fingertip here. As you're raising up with your fingertip to fingertip, you're going to raise up on the balls of your feet. So let me show you this from the side. So you're going to step out here, your fingertip to fingertips. Your fingers going to be like this, almost like you're trying to hold hold something. As you bring your hands up, you'll come up on the balls of your feet, and as you push out into the triangle, you're going to let the balls of your feet relax and come down. So let me do this from the front so that you can see. You'll step out here, fingertip to fingertip, You'll step up here and you'll come out here into the triangle. Now, this bow only pertains to one form as far as I know. I don't know if maybe somebody's add that, the Kuki one, add more or whatever, but it pertains to choreo. And there's a whole history that goes behind that and the reason why and the name of the choreo, but I'm not going to get into that today. It's the only time that you're going to do that bow, going up here and here, when you're going from white belt to black belt. That's it. And you'll typically do this bow right before you get your black belt, because it's the last form that you need to learn, the last poomsae you need to learn before you get your black belt, when you learn choreo. Before that, your bow may just be a typical bow like this, depends on your Savanem, your instructor, or your bow may be like this, and that also depends on your Savanem, your instructor. The school I went to, we did it this way here, and we did that all the way until we get the red black belt and we do our first form of choreo. Now, when you bow into class in Taekwondo, if you're a red black belt and you're now on the advanced stuff and you're on choreo, you don't bow like this in the beginning of class. Okay? You do the same bow that everybody else does. You're going to do that bow or just this bow. The only time you're going to do that advanced bow, this here, is when you are going to perform that form. Now, it's important that I explain that that is actually considered a bow how that begins, but it's not how you start class like you would in Kempo karate. And Kempo, when the instructor says, okay, bow in, and the instructor will typically bow this way. They won't do the other bows. The instructor will typically just do a bow like that. So as the student, you're required to do the traditional bow. So beginners bow this way and bow, or if you're an advanced student, you will go there. And so that covers the bowing in and out of class for the Scorpion System of Martial Arts. For my students, when they start, that's how they would bow. A beginner student will bow this way. They all bow here because this is just a regular traditional bow. So they all bow there. The advanced students, the brown belts, and then the red belts. So you had everybody, you could tell the progression. And then when they got to black belt, when they become a black belt, they all bowed this way. This is how the black belts would bow. If there's an instructor, if the black belt has made it to becoming a junior instructor or instructor, they were allowed to, in the Scorpion System of Martial Arts, to bow however they wanted, whichever one they felt more comfortable with. And that also let you know which part of the system they leaned a little bit more towards, although I teach it so that they are learning equally Kempo and Taekwondo. But if the instructor starts off and he bows you in like this, you better get ready, because that's going to be a heavy leg day, because that instructor really enjoys the Taekwondo more, leans more towards the kicking and Taekwondo more in the Scorpion System Martial Arts versus the Kempo. If the instructor starts off and they do this, oh baby, you better get ready, because that's going to be a heavy punching day. Going to be a lot of punches, a lot of hand work, a lot of close quarters, close combat stuff because of the Kempo. So you know that you're going to have a Kempo instructor that day. And that's the way I designed my system of Scorpion System Martial Arts, by bringing the two equally up, the Taekwondo and the Kempo karate.